In a kingdom bathed in eternal sunlight, where every jewel sparkled and every song was sung in perfect harmony, lived a princess named Lyra. But Lyra had a secret, one she guarded more fiercely than any castle wall. She was invisible, not by magic or curse, but by choice. From a young age, the pressures of royalty felt like a heavy cloak. The endless curtsies, the forced smiles, the constant scrutiny, all became too much. So she learned to fade. She mastered the art of being present but unnoticed, a silent shadow in the bustling palace halls. Her days were spent in the quiet corners of the kingdom, places no one else bothered to look at. She'd sit in the highest branches of the ancient library's oak tree, listening to scholars debate philosophies she longed to discuss. She'd slip into the kitchens, mesmerized by the clatter and warmth, the honest laughter of the staff as they kneaded dough and shared stories. She saw the true heart of her kingdom, the joys and sorrows hidden behind polite facades. She saw the guard who carved tiny wooden birds for his daughter, and the seamstress who dreamed of painting landscapes. Lyra saw everything, and in seeing, she learned about compassion, about the simple dignity of hard work, and about the quiet strength that resided in the hearts of her people. While her family worried about treaties and banquets, Lyra worried about the baker's rising flour costs and the blacksmith's ailing father. She understood their lives in a way no monarch ever had, but her invisibility came at a cost. Loneliness was her constant companion. She was a ghost in her own home, her own life. She yearned to speak, to share her thoughts, to connect. She watched her siblings laugh and argue, and a hollow ache would fill her chest. Was this safety worth the silence? Was this peace worth the isolation? One day a great blight fell upon the land. The crops withered, the rivers ran thin, and a strange, creeping despair began to settle over the kingdom. The king and his advisers were baffled. They consulted maps, held grand council meetings, and offered rewards for a solution, but the land only grew sicker. From her hidden vantage points, Lyra saw the fear in her people's eyes. She saw the rations shrinking and the hope dimming, and she knew she couldn't remain a shadow any longer. She had spent years listening. She knew the southern fields were waterlogged because of a beaver dam upstream that no one had noticed. She knew the eastern farmlands were failing because a specific beetle, mentioned only in a forgotten book in the library, was infesting the roots. She knew the northern villagers were falling ill from a tainted well, a fact they were too afraid to report to the far-off castle. She held the pieces to the puzzle, fragments of knowledge gathered during her years in the margins. Taking a deep breath, Lyra stepped out of the shadows. Her first appearance was in the royal court. She simply began to speak. Her voice, unused to public address, was soft at first, but it carried the weight of conviction. The courtiers, who had barely registered her existence for years, turned in shock. Who was this girl? She didn't announce herself as a long-lost princess. She simply presented the solutions. Divert the small creek to flood the beaver dam, she advised, explaining the downstream effects. A mixture of ash and crushed marigold, as described in the almanacs of the Third Age, will deter the root beetles, she stated, pointing to the exact shelf in the library. The well near the old quarry needs to be sealed. The runoff from the mines has poisoned it, she declared. Her knowledge was so specific, so practical, that the council had no choice but to listen. Scouts were dispatched, and her claims were verified, one by one. As her solutions were implemented, the kingdom slowly began to heal. The rivers flowed freely again, the fields turned green, and the despair began to lift. People started to notice her, not as a princess, but as the girl who saw what everyone else missed, the girl who listened. Her father, the king, looked at her with a mixture of awe and regret. He had a daughter he never truly knew, a leader who had been hiding in plain sight. Lyra never sought the throne or a crown. Her power wasn't in a title, but in her connection to the people. She established a new kind of council, one made of farmers, merchants, and artisans, the very people she had silently observed for so long. She taught the nobles that true leadership wasn't about giving orders from a throne, but about walking among the people and understanding their world. She was no longer the invisible princess. She was Lyra, the watcher, the listener, the healer. She had found her voice not by demanding to be seen, but by first learning to see others. And in stepping out of the shadows, she didn't just save her kingdom. She found her true self, proving that the most powerful presence is one that is built on empathy, understanding, and the courage to finally speak up. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales that explore the hidden corners of the heart. Until next time.